We would, of course, want to get rid of this thing forever. It is the first, most natural, most human impulse. When a shadow falls over our lives, we want to banish it. And heaven knows we'll have tried. We'll have embarked on this desperate, hopeful quest with the fervor of a pilgrim seeking a holy relic. We'll have bought the glossy self-help books with their smiling authors promising a 5-step plan to permanent happiness. We'll have sat in the clinical chill of a therapist's office, dissecting our childhoods, searching for a single identifiable wound that, once healed, will make everything right. We'll have gone on courses, read volumes of psychology, hired psychiatrists and psychotherapists, and dutifully taken medicines that promise to rebalance the delicate chemistry of our minds. Through all of this, we would have veered between the dizzying heights of hope and the crushing depths of despair. A few good weeks might feel like a sunrise, the first light of a final cure. We might think this is it. I've finally cracked the code. But then, inevitably, the old, familiar static returns, and we are plunged back into the darkness. Each cycle chips away at our resolve, making the hope feel more naive and the despair feel more like the truth. But the more time passes, the more these cycles teach us a hard, unwelcome lesson. We have to take on board a starker, unavoidable reality. This thing is here for the long term. This is not a temporary storm to be waited out, but a fundamental change in our climate. In the one precious, unrepeatable life we will ever have, this is us. We'll never be fully rid of the bug. The realization dawns, not like a sudden lightning flash, but like a slow, creeping fog, that we have a chronic condition of the mind, not a temporary illness. An illness implies a cure, a return to a former self. A condition implies management, adaptation, and a truce with an unconquerable foe. So, how can we possibly survive this essentially extremely dispiriting realization? How do we live a meaningful life when the very ground beneath our feet feels permanently unstable? A range of thoughts come to mind, forming a kind of survival guide for the chronically troubled. First and foremost, we need a certain mindset, a radical recalibration of our internal compass. It must be a mindset combining intense doses of strategic pessimism with bleak, knowing humor, and all of it wrapped in the most tender, unconditional compassion. We never asked for this. We didn't do anything especially wrong to deserve it. This is not a punishment or a sign of a sinful, weak nature. It is a part of our human makeup, as arbitrary and unchosen as the color of our eyes. We can speculate at length about where it comes from: a genetic echo from a melancholic ancestor, an emotional inheritance passed down through generations, a purely biological condition written into our neurology, or perhaps the unforeseen outcome of certain choices we've made. In all likelihood, it will be a distinctive, tangled mixture of all of these. But in the grander scheme, in the daily business of living, a point comes where the why may not really matter. The exhaustive search for a single cause can become its own kind of trap. The task is ultimately simply to accept that this is the fight of our lives, the unique curriculum our soul has been given. Against this bleak picture, we need to redraw our horizons and expectations. We must abandon the heroic fantasy of solving the whole problem. Instead, we need to learn the subtle art of celebrating when things aren't especially awful. When we have a good day, or even a good afternoon, we must learn to cherish it with the intensity another person might reserve for a wedding day or a major promotion. We know by now, with a weary certainty, that the problems are always going to return. The tide will go out again. This is precisely why we have no option but to draw maximal satisfaction from the small moments of reprieve. When, every now and then, we go through a steady and coherent passage a day where the inner critic is quiet, where we can focus on a task, where joy feels accessible, that is a monumental victory. We need to become the sort of people who can say, without a trace of irony or bitterness, Wednesday went well, and truly feel in our bones that this is a serious, profound accomplishment. Other people climb mountains for a challenge or go racing around a motor track at 200 miles per hour. Our extreme sport, Our Everest is the quiet, invisible, daily challenge of staying alive and navigating the minefield of our own consciousness. We don't want to be judgmental, but we must be realistic. A lot of people, perhaps most people, are really not going to be very helpful to us. This is not a failing on their part. They may have the sweetest disposition, the kindest hearts, and the most interesting lives, but in essence, they'll never be able to truly understand. Their well-meaning advice, just think positive. Have you tried going for a walk? You have so much to be grateful for. Can feel like a dismissal of a pain they cannot fathom. To put it more accurately, their circumstances mean they'll never feel a need to understand our minds, and good for them. We would be the same if we were any luckier. Their experiences of the world will always feel remote and alien, and ours to them. As a result, we must actively seek out our tribe. We need to find people who either know this condition from the inside, who speak our secret language of anxiety and fatigue, or those who, because of some fortuitous, empathetic bend in their own minds, feel somehow instinctively close to it anyway. We need people who can sit with us in our despair without trying to fix it, who can listen to our darkest thoughts without flinching. But crucially, they must also be people who know how to encourage us to laugh at the sheer absurdity of it all. People who won't accuse us of malingering or of making a meal out of nothing. People who won't look wide-eyed and full of silent judgment as we detail what we've been up to and some of the wildest, most irrational thoughts that course through us in the lonely early hours. We need, more than most, a lot of love. And yet, of course, a cruel paradox is that we'll often be unusually inept at finding it, as damaged people so often are. The very thing we need is the thing our condition makes us feel unworthy of receiving. This is why we must remain at all times vigilant. We must become watchful guardians of our own well-being. One of the most insidious enemies we have to deal with is our own sudden assumption that we might, after all, be well again. A good month can seduce us into believing the war is over. So we need to be always on our guard, not with fear, but with gentle wisdom as to the likelihood of a relapse. We should formulate plans, but hold on to them very lightly, knowing they may need to be abandoned if a dark day descends. We should recognize the dangerous link between busyness and mania, and take extreme, conscious measures to live soberly and deliberately, resisting the urge to overcommit when we feel a surge of energy. We must acknowledge and fully, respectfully, honor the differences between ourselves and other, more robust people, without shame or envy. And so, we learn to live with it. Day by day, we learn to carry it. We must remember that a life is not defined by its lack of cracks, but by how it is pieced together. Perhaps the most fitting metaphor is the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is mended with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The philosophy is that the breakage and repair are part of the object's history, not something to disguise. The cracks are not a source of shame. They are illuminated, celebrated, a testament to the object's resilience. This is our path, the battles we fight, the moments of despair we survive, and the tender self-compassion we learn to practice. These are not signs of a broken life. They are the golden threads that make our personal tapestry uniquely strong and breathtakingly beautiful. Our victory is not in erasing the struggle, but in learning to dance in the rain, to find warmth in the grayest of days, and to see the profound, hard-won beauty in our own resilience. This is our art, our masterpiece, our life. And it is, in its own way, a thing of immense, undeniable beauty. If these reflections on navigating the complexities of the mind resonate with you, know that you're not alone on this journey. Our channel is a space dedicated to exploring these very thoughts, offering compassion, and building a community of understanding. We invite you to subscribe and join our conversation. Let's continue to support one another in the beautiful, difficult art of mending ourselves with gold.